Hey, what it do, y'all? It's your boy E2 Blue coming back at you again on this Monday, beginning of the week, man. And again, we're in off-season protocol right now. The start of the new season is steadily, well, not the season itself, but you know what I mean, like the league year, I should say. So it's about that time where teams are gonna have to pick their franchise player, that one franchise player for their team for the year, and free agency is coming up. So with free agency, let's go ahead and talk about the free agents for the Dallas Cowboys because we've been talking about potential free agents that we can get from other teams, but not so much about our own free agents. Who's going to stay, who's going to go, whatever the situation is. Now I know I spoke about a little bit on it in the past video, but I'm going to reiterate a little bit more and add more to that because again, it's closer to that time right now. So I feel like we can get a little bit more things started here. So first and foremost, uh, I'm gonna talk about the cap space that we have. After I talk about the guys that could potentially be here or not, um, talk about the cap space, and then a little bit about Dak as well, because at the same time, like he, we know that he's a free agent as well. He is the most important person to re-sign on this team outside of your offensive line. And I'm gonna get into that too because if you look at the offense, the quarterback and the offensive line are the two most important things of need on this team, primarily. Now, if you look on defense, it'd be defensive tackle and secondary, primarily safety. So, if we can stop the run better next year in defense, it'll make all the difference in the world. Now, there's not too many defensive tackles that are going to come in and command that type of thing where you think that they could just come and just stop the run. You're going to have to find a veteran. And I know that it didn't work last year with Terry Poe, but they're just going to have to do a better job of evaluating these veterans that are coming from other teams and trying to figure out if they still got something left in the tank. You know what I mean? Because what you don't want is these guys coming over here and potentially becoming another goddamn Don Terry Poe. You don't want that. You don't want that. And I know that they're probably going to re-sign Gerald McCoy again, give him another opportunity. I know that he had his freak accident in that training camp practice, but um, he's healed from that injury, and hopefully the Cowboys could bring him back on the cheap contract. Now, there's been so much talk about Dak, so we're gonna leave him to the end. So, the unrestricted guys. Now, I went over this list before, but let's do it one more again. So, defensive tackle. Well, it's not pronounced Eli. It's Eli Anku. I know some of you guys probably don't even know who the hell that is. He's actually played a couple of decent snaps in last season. If you guys are paying attention to that defensive tackle position, he wasn't bad. He got washed out of some plays, but he did make a couple plays too as well. Providing some push for the defensive ends to come and eat and do some of their things. Now, Eli Anku, I'm not really worried about him. He's probably a guy that nobody really is going to pick up on another team until late anyway. So if the Cowboys do decide to bring him back, I mean, it's nothing. He's pennies to the dollar. He's like 700,000, if a mil. You know what I mean, for a season. So, he's probably practice squad / a guy trying to fight for a bubble spot position type of player. Number two, Chidobe Awuzie. Now, Chidobe Awuzie, I know some of you guys were up and down about Chidobe, whether he was going to come back or not, but I think that he's probably one of the cornerbacks on this team. Him and Jordan Lewis, I think, are the top two that you could possibly think of as far as guys that are core players to play on the defense, that is, to come back. I would like to see Chidobe Awuzie come back. I don't know what his contract or what he would command for a salary, but I don't see him being that expensive either because I know there's a few teams that might go after him though. So and I feel like if he does go, he'll probably go to another team and play better. He reminds me, like, him leaving will remind me of a little bit of Byron Jones a little bit. Like, some players that some fans didn't like him, just like with Byron Jones. Some fans didn't like him because he didn't get all the interceptions. So what? He batted the ball down. He was there where he needed to be, and that's what Byron did. And he went to the Dolphins and played better. Dolphins offered him more, and that's what happens. They normally go for the money. Now, Chidobe Awuzie, it really depends on what he commands in the free agent market. Now, the Cowboys have all the opportunity to bring him back if they really want to, but that's it's really 50-50 on him. Next one we have is Blake Bell. Now, the Belldozer. Now, remember we got him from the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, he was on their roster for their first Super Bowl. Now, so he technically has a Super Bowl ring. Now, when he came to the Cowboys, I think he was a really good addition. Like he provided a little bit in that passing game for us, and then he was the Belldozer. That's why they call him the Belldozer because he blocks pretty well. I think that he's definitely a tight end you can bring back. Just go ahead and bring back this whole tight end class that we had. You know, even McKeon. McKeon was the fourth guy, and they used him on special teams primarily, but still, special teams make a difference. Our special teams did really good this year, and I think that if you keep that core together, it'd be cool. Now with the Belldozer, you got him, Schultz, and Blake Jarwin, and you can use them. You can use all three of them in the passing game if you need to, and it'll just add to what we already have as a whole. So that way you really don't have to draft a tight end unless you want to do one late, but it's not a necessary need because we got veterans in that position. All three of them are veterans. So signing him would be a cheap contract as well. He probably will command maybe like 1.82 million to maybe 2.5 million at the most for the veteran men, but I don't know what that translates to tight end. But I think it's about $2.5 million, which is fine. I can deal with that. Wide receiver Noah Brown. I kind of think his time is done with the Dallas Cowboys. He's been here for a while. He was a Jason Garrett guy. He was a Jason Garrett pick. He was here when Jason Garrett got him from Ohio State. Now, Noah Brown always had promise, but he always got injured. It was like Jave Johnson too. Both of those guys used to get injured all the time, and this year he actually stayed healthy. He played pretty much the whole season, but they just didn't have um, much of a spot on the field for him because we have such dynamic wide receivers. We have such good wide receivers. They're never coming off the field, so it's not like he had an opportunity. And then Cedric Wilson was getting the bulk of the secondary wide receiver carries anyway. So, he it really wasn't that much ball to go around for Noah Brown. They had him in there. You see 85 in there on certain key plays. You see him catch the ball. You thought it was Michael Gallup or something. He's like, oh shit, no, that's 85. It's not 13. So yeah. So I mean, I think that he would be a decent player. When you give him the opportunity and when he's healthy. Cool, but I think that the Giants are probably going to go after him because Jason Garrett is up there in New York still. So I think that if the Cowboys don't re-sign him, I think that he's going to be on that first bus to the Meadowlands. He's probably going to go up there to MetLife and be with his former coach Jason Garrett, and because I think the Giants released Golden Tate, so maybe they could use Noah Brown as that third wide receiver to help out with Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton. So who knows? But we'll see what happens. Now, Tyrone Crawford. I think that Tyrone Crawford is done. I think that he's going to retire. I know a lot of people, didn't really want him on the squad no more because he was making too much money a year, and the production wasn't adding to it didn't make sense to what he was doing. I get it. He's coming off of a hip injury, and a lot of people didn't see his production. A lot of things that he doesn't really show up in the box score anyway. So with that being said, Tyrone Crawford, has been whispers that he was going to retire. So if he retires, then it is what it is. He's not going to be back anyway. So we're done with that contract. Andy Dalton. We talked a little bit about Andy Dalton before. Now, we talked about this quarterback carousel going around the league and who needs what and things of that nature. Now, you got your teams like the Jets and the Jaguars and those teams that pick it high in the draft. They're all getting quarterbacks in the draft. So you can forget about that. Now, teams that aren't picking in that position, you look at the Broncos and things of that nature. I think that the Broncos might be a team that would maybe go after Andy Dalton because remember, Andy Dalton says that he would like to be a starter for a franchise because that's what he wants to do. He wants to get back into that starter life. But I think that if he ever comes back and be a backup again, I think that it'd be his second option. So basically, if there's no starting positions left, then he'll take a backup role somewhere, whether it's still with the Cowboys or whoever else. But I think that Andy Dalton, like I said, because he wants to be a starting quarterback again, I don't necessarily see him coming back to the Cowboys unless nobody really picks him up or wants to get him out of free agency. But I think if he goes into free agency, he's probably somebody made a comment, said he was going to New England, but I don't know, because I think they're going to keep Cam Newton because they understand the quarterback market is slim right now. You hear that, Cowboys? The quarterback market is slim, so you better sign Dak Prescott. So, but we can't keep going into that. You know how that goes. But again, like I said, Andy Dalton could be going with Drew Lock up there with the Denver Broncos, and they might find a spot for him. He could be the starting quarterback, and Drew Lock can learn from up under him. So we'll see how that goes. Cameron Irving, I heard whispers that they're going to re-sign him anyway. Again, he's a veteran guy. His contract will be minimal, so that's not really worry of a cap. Now this guy next is really pivotal to this team because although he doesn't play a lot of snaps on defense, he still is a cornerback. But C.J. Goodwin, I think that outside of L.P. Ladouceur, he and of course Dak Prescott, he is probably one of your most important Cowboys free agent signings. He has single-handedly won games for the Cowboys on special teams. He's made a lot of special teams play, not just this past year, but ever since he's been with the Dallas Cowboys. And like I said, I love what he's doing. I love how John Fossil uses him. So keep that up, guys, on the special teams unit, because they're getting better and better, and that's what we want to see. Because to win a Super Bowl, you have to play your ass off in all three phases of the game. Period. You have to dominate a game. That's how you win. Period. And like I said, LP Ladouceur, he's next on that list. LP, you got to sign LP again. LP, you can get him for cheap at this point. He's 40-something years old. I think he's the longest tenured Cowboys now that Jason Witten is gone. So, again, he ain't never made no mistakes. So, he could play well into his 50s at this point because all he does is he's a placeholder. But it's a very important job being a long snapper. Very important job, because if you mess that up, it's dismal to your team on special teams. Just period. It is. So understand that. Sean Lee. Now, has Sean Lee been trying to retire for the last 3 years? I don't know what's up with. I would actually rather see Sean Lee come back and be a player coach or a player assistant or whatever like that, or something like that. I think that his playing career is over. I think he needs to go ahead and just stop playing and hang up the cleats. I know that he's a warrior. He's a guy that wants to prove himself every step of the way because he's had a lot of injuries, and he knows, these players hear what we talk about. You know what I mean? They know that we don't like certain ones of them, and we know that they hear all the negativity. And some of the guys, it really gets to them. So, they might be a little sensitive. You never know. But with Sean Lee's case, he needs, in my opinion, he needs to just go ahead and retire, and hopefully the Cowboys can put him on a roster as like a backup coach or something like that. Create a position for him like they did George L. And the next one I have is Jordan Lewis. Now, Jordan Lewis, he's like Chidobe Awuzie. He's about 50-50 coming back. I think that if you're going to sign any cornerbacks, you're going to have to either choose between them two, or if they want to get Froggy, keep both of them. So it is what it is. But again, you're going to have to sign C.J. Goodwin back, so that's technically 3 corners, even though C.J. Goodwin doesn't play base defense. Joe Looney, the center. Now, Joe Looney he's definitely been a lot for the Dallas Cowboys, not just on the field, but the fact that he's a stand-up guy. He's a fun individual. Like, he's one of those guys when you have a conversation with him, you forget he's a football player. You forget that he's a local celebrity and things of that nature. You forget these guys are who they are when you hear them actually talk about their life and talk about things. And he's a real dude. And I really bang with Joe Looney, and I would love to see Joe Looney here till he retires. Just for that benefit. And again, he's a great backup. He's come in and he's done what he needed to do. And, he's not perfect. Hell, none of them are. But When you have stability like that on your offensive line, you gotta keep that there with that cohesion. You can't keep moving pieces around on the offensive line because the offensive line isn't plug and play like other positions in the football field. Those people have to be doing the same thing. They got to be on the same page for it to flow. And if it doesn't work like that, it's not going to flow. It's not going to work. And then you have absolutely nothing. Um, Justin March Lillard, he probably may be gone. Defensive end Aldon Smith. Aldon Smith actually might command some money because again, some there's gonna be a team out there that saw what he did in those 5 games, his first 5 games, and said, "Woo, this dude's been out almost damn near 5 seasons, and he came back strong." Now we do know that when Aldon Smith did, go through the year, that shit caught up to his body. Had nothing to do with his worth ethic or anything like that. It's just that he was gassed. Being out of football like that is not easy. Hell, I tried to do some football drills and things of that nature because I thought I was ready. I guess I wasn't ready either. That stuff is hard. It's repetitive. It's it's just a lot of mental. It's a lot of mental stress, and it's just a lot of a lot that you're dealing with. You're talking about a guy that sat out of football for a long time, and coming back to that, it takes time. And I think that this year with a full off season, if they do decide to repay Alden, I think that'd be a good thing to do because you want to bolster up that defensive line. Period. Period. That's it. Um, Jordan Mills, offensive tackle. I think he was just kind of a placeholder. So I think that at the end of the day, they could choose to bring him back again, just like Eli Anku. He's what 6'7", uh, 6 or 700,000. It's not really um, in the millions yet. So, like I said, a guy like that, their contract can be very, very small, and you could do something with that. But he didn't really. They didn't even play him last year, so I don't think that they'll even waste their time bringing him back. Linebacker Joe Thomas, I think that he needs to be resigned. He's one of your core players, meaning like he's a special team ace. He's almost like the cornerback C.J. Goodwin. He provides that hitting and things of that nature on special teams. And when Jalen or Leighton Vanders has been hurt, they put him in the games, and he knows what he's doing. It's not like he's out here not knowing what he's doing. You know what I mean? And if um, and he showed promise. He showed promise. When everybody said that, oh well, we should have put Luke Gifford in before him, and Luke Gifford is going to do this and do that. It was not the same. Nothing against Luke Gifford. He's still learning. Joe Thomas has been in the league a long time. He was in Green Bay with Mike McCarthy in his early years. So now he's back over here. So it's definitely going to help the Cowboys in that way, especially with linebackers. We don't know exactly what they're going to do in free agents or what they're going to do in the draft. So it's going to be interesting, guys. So sit back and watch that. Now, this one I know a lot of you guys are like, you know what? Let him go. Xavier Woods, the X-Man. Y'all told that man, get thee behind, yeah. Get thee behind. Yeah, so y'all don't want Xavier Woods apparently. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it as that and say that he's not gonna come back because so many people have chimed in and said that they don't want no part of Xavier Woods. Okay, I hear you loud and clear. Now that's it for the unrestricted guys. So basically, they can sign with any team anytime they want to throughout the free agency period. Now, this group of guys are the restricted rights guys, and I think that every single one on this restricted side are probably going to be back because they're going to need them either for depth purposes or just the simple fact that they I don't know may have a well, first of all, their contracts are going to be cheap. That's one. Two, you have exclusive rights to them. They're restricted. So a team has to put up an offer for them to even go to that team and sign with that team anyway. They have to let you know. So they're gonna have to ask you, hey, what you think about this kid? Are you gonna keep him or not? So you gotta let them know something. It's not like you keep everything a secret like back in the day. You gotta kind of be out there a little bit. So let's get into it. So offensive tackle Greg Sinat. I know that he didn't play much because blah blah blah. You didn't want to mess up the cohesion of the offensive line, but I think that they did put him in on special team moments as well. So just to get his feet wet, things of that nature. So I think Greg Snott, he makes he's basically a veteran. What's the word I'm looking for? A bridge player, bridge player. Yeah. So basically, he's gonna be there to just if somebody gets injured, then they can just put him in because he knows how to play the position. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, you're not gonna be able to go into this draft and expect to draft everything that you need. That's not viable. It doesn't happen like that. Wide receiver Malik Turner. I know a lot of you guys like who Malik Turner. I didn't even know he was there. Yeah, because they didn't play him. He was just a special teams guy. Now he's a wide receiver that blocks well, ironically. So he does a good job there. The only highlights that I've seen of him actually catching the ball was when he was with Seattle because we got him from Seattle last year. Next up, wide receiver Cedric Wilson. We spoke on him too. He is damn near your fourth wide receiver. He's going to be on that roster. Those four are already taken care of. So we know that Cedric's going to be back. Antoine Woods. I think it's highly important that they re-sign him in that defensive tackle position just to have him in that space. Exclusive rights agent. That's again, that's a position where when you're in that category, it's they basically can't go to another team unless that team offers you whatever tender that you put on that player, whether it's a second round, third round, or maybe a first round. But you wouldn't do that for an undrafted guy. So I kind of squashed that. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, I think Antoine Woods makes sense. You got to bring him back because we're already thin at that defensive tackle position, so you're going to need him there at that position. And then of course Rondelle Carter. Rondelle Carter is the exclusive rights guy. You remember he had left to go to the Colts. He took a what's the term they use? He had a cup of coffee with the Indianapolis Colts, and he came back to Dallas Cowboys, and he's now an exclusive rights player for them. So again, that's another guy that they'll probably bring back, put on the practice squad, and stick him in there when ready. That's all I'm saying. So, real quick before I end the video, I hate Skip Bayless so much now. He's such a hypocrite. I don't know and I hate to say I hate. Let me not say I hate. I dislike what he's doing, and you're a hypocrite. 1 minute you're all on Dak saying that Dak is the best quarterback in the league, and I don't want to hear all that shit. So you say all that cockamamie bullshit, and then you turn around and say, let's go ahead and trade him for Russell Wilson, when you clearly said before that he was better than Russell Wilson. I'm just like, and I looked at that and I was just like, come on, Skip. Come on. Skip, stop it. Just stop it. And sorry for the video being long. I just had to get through these guys. But you got to sign Dak. That's the most important thing right there. Him, and you make sure that offensive line is healthy, and sky's the limits for the offense, period. Now, I know everybody was buzzing about and bugging about the Dak Prescott contract dispute and things of that nature. And if you I know that the comments that his agent said that he wanted to get paid right behind Pat Mahomes. You could say whether he deserves that or not. I'm not going to tell a man what he deserves or what he don't. But if you look at it from a production standpoint, you're still going to have to pay him what the market price is. And the Joneses should have known better. You should have wrapped up your quarterback when you could have. That way there was no problems. Now it's where the situation where the rubber is meeting the damn road, and somebody's gonna have to figure out something. Period. So that's pretty much where we're at now. People were bugging about the cap structure, and basically right now the Cowboys have, because they have money left over from last year, so basically that carries over to the next league year. So the Cowboys have roughly $24 million of cap space right now. So I think they're like 14th in the league or something like that in the cap. So check this out. So hmm, if I say Cowboys have $24 million right now, and I tell you that the Dallas Cowboys could potentially add another 47 million onto that for this season, would you believe it? Probably not, because it sounds far fetched, and I totally get it. But I will say that they can create over 47 million if well, if you cut Anthony Brown, if you cut Greg Zuerlein, if you cut Chris Jones, ain't none of them going nowhere because they're essential. Period. So, with that being said, this is where the 47 million comes from. You can restructure the contracts of Amari Cooper. You can restructure the contract of D-Law. You can restructure the contracts of Tyrone Smith and Ezekiel Elliott. So if you take those guys and restructure those guys to the bare minimum, you are basically getting 40. What is it? Yeah, shit. That's another $47. $27 million added back onto his account. So I think that if you take the whole grand scheme of things, right, with the whole cap, the salary cap, with us already having 24 mil, you create 47 by basically you're gonna have to restructure all of those guys I just stated. Now, if and this is all contingent on what the full cap number. If the full cap number is at 85%, then you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta hedge your bets on it. So, for me personally, I'm not. I'm just gonna go ahead and figure it out, because again, restructuring is okay, but all you're doing is giving them a signing bonus and you're pushing their contract back more. So again, if these are players that you don't want to keep long term, too bad, so sad, because now you got them because of that situation. Now, if I tell you that, if I tell you what you don't want to do is waste money on Bull. We know that you got to sign Dak, and you're gonna have to get him at a higher price. That is all the Dallas Cowboys' fault. That's the Joneses. That's their issue. So if you create that 47 mil, you'll be able to sign Dak. You'll be able to sign your draft picks, and you could get some free agents, which is just as much important. You got to get free agents. And that's the bottom line. But do you really want to restructure the contract of Amari Cooper and Tyron Smith and Bohr and D-Law? You don't want, and I'm sorry, Ezekiel Elliott. So you don't want to do all that. You don't want to kick that can down the road, because you're going to have to end up paying the piper back later on. But if it helps now, and if you're gunning for the salary cap to go up, basically post-COVID, hopefully COVID will be over and then they can get more revenue in these stadiums. Outside of that, that's what you got. You just basically it's just word of mouth. So that's pretty much it with that. So if the cap's 185 million, you're going to be able to take some of these contracts and sign your quarterback, Dak Prescott, because I don't care what people say or what they think that he's worth or not worth. None of that shit matters. You just got to sign your quarterback and stop playing around, because it's a lot, and everybody's trying to figure it out, what's going on. Forget it. Stop trying to figure stuff out. Let it go. I just need the Joneses to stop dragging this shit out and just pay the man. Just pay him, because it gets tiring. And, and I sit here and I'm like, just pay him. That's all you got to do. And like I said, sorry, let me know, guys, what you think about this. Sorry, the video is like 30 minutes. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to be that long, but I had to go over some of these things. I just had this in my head, and I just wanted to chat about it. But let me know what you think about clearing about 47 mil. 47 mil will get you Dak Prescott signed. You could get a couple of cheap free agents, and then the rest of it is the draft. And we'll go from there. So in the meantime, between time, y'all, it's your boy E2 Blue. Like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. It's your boy E2 Blue, always keeping it real. Peace.